I'm home.
Hello. I'm
Ah,
here.
sorry,
I'm
I'm
eating
after
a
really
burger. We
tired
haven't done a
guys.
stream in a little while
Say we
because
can
we've been
got me the
killing
fucking
ourselves to
bird
get that
dungeon.
video done today. And I swear to God, as soon as it got uploaded, I laid down and I woke up like my body had just like collapsed on itself. Like I just fallen apart the second it was done.
I had to inject myself with copious amount of steroids to even be able to wake up to this.
How many steroids?
I mean, you should see him. He's muscular as hell.
I'm muscular as fuck, and I had to like take crack right after just so I have the energy to speak.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Just so I can like push through the fucking pain that Xavier's put me through by making me work like a whole month in this fucking pitch black work dungeon.
I had him handcuffed to like just the. Have you ever seen the movie Saw? It was kind of like that, where he was handcuffed to like a handrail in a dark room, and all he had as a light source was the laptop, and it was plugged in. And I told him that I would let him go as soon as he finished the animations.
You know
And
what that
he's
reminds
finished
me?
the animations, and I told him I was actually just lying.
This is the what if ending of Iron Man 1, where if Tony Stark actually complied.
Look what you've made me build.
I didn't build a fucking Iron Man armor and escape. I couldn't. I didn't have the skills for that.
This
You
is
built the
why
missile and went
this is
through
why
with it.
animation is not as
Now
good
you're
in art
complacent.
form as building war crimes weapons.
He's building bombs as. How many war crimes have you committed this week? None? Exactly.
Sounds so kid-friendly when you said that. How many war crimes have you committed this week?
So anyway, I know we said that we were going to do, you know, The Witcher 3, but I changed my mind. And we're doing Half-Life 2 Episode 2 instead at the special request of our good friend Xavier.
Yeah, it was Xavier.
What, me?
Yeah. You kept asking for it, you fucking idiot. You're like, oh, when are we going to play Half-Life 2, you fucking dunce?
And Half-Life is your favorite game.
It's your favorite game.
Yeah, I guess.
What's wrong with you?
I guess I did do that.
Of course you did.
It was me all along.
Oh no! I'm falling into the water!
It was him, Austin, all along.
I am the Phantom.
He is the Phantom Menace.
The Phantom Menace. I love the idea of someone just in the movies going, I am the Phantom Menace.
That's what Darth Maul did. Like, hey, I'm the
Yeah,
Phantom
as soon
Menace.
as that big metal door opened, he's like, hey, I'm the Phantom Menace, bitch. And he like pulled out his double lightsaber.
Yeah, he's like, hey, wanna fight?
Let's
Phantom
hope this
Menace.
still works.
I'm like in our contract to do so. Like George Lucas over there kind of asked me to. Do you guys feel the same? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And Anakin's like, what the fuck is happening?
Anakin's like
And
a
then,
small
and then
child.
Obi-Wan turned around. Obi-Wan turned around and
wanna
was
kick
like,
this
don't
thing
worry,
now."
child. You'll soon learn.
I am Gordon, the ultimate Freeman.
And then,
Gorman Freeman.
As
Psycho Gorman
you take the
Freeman.
gravity gun.
I am the
Than I
free
am.
man of Gore,
When I couldn't find you, I
man.
I know. I shouldn't have worried.
I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
we should keep moving. I'm sure the Combine haven't forgotten about us. I heard Vortigaunts a few minutes ago. Maybe they're still around. We've got a long way to
So,
go with my dad.
yeah,
It'd be nice to have some extra help.
the Psycho Gore Man.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. We are, yeah.
Yeah. What was that? Cut out. Oh boy, how I missed this.
Oh man.
Good old Discord.
Good old days.
Now, if you'll wait 1
Productions
second,
is in
I can
chat,
actually,
and he said,
if you'll pause for 1 second, I can actually start up the sharing my screams
Oh yeah, pause the screen, pause the game. This is a cool section. You look at this. This is a 2007 game on a 2004 engine. I want you to fucking let that sink in for a minute because this looks like an Xbox 360 game.
Oh look, it's the ending to every MCU movie. But yeah, it does look neat. It does have a nice, cool background.
Right? No, go up to it. Go up to it.
It's got the blue space laser.
Turn on. There we go. Oh, fuck. This is 2004, man. Fouled with the head of the fucking curve. Where's the curve? Curve?
Yeah, he was ahead of a curb.
Are you okay?
Curve, okay. Yeah, I got it right the first
The
time.
first day's all over again.
So that was the Citadel that you fucked up in episode 1. How do you feel about that? You feel proud of what you did? You happy with yourself?
Yes.
Good, you should be.
So anyway, have any of you been watching that new television show on Disney Plus? The High School Musical, the musical series?
I've been watching Defending Jacob.
Watching what?
Defending Jacob.
That's not a Disney Plus original series.
Yeah,
It's about our friend Jacob getting in trouble for
getting in trouble
for all the
Drawing-
the various crimes he's committed.
Yeah.
Number 1, dating an English
And,
person.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Biggest crime of all, especially for as an Australian, I consider that to be the worst of the worst. You could kill a man and I won't flinch, but you can.
Those
I'm
line
sorry,
tea
Molly.
drinkers.
Even it ain't.
Molly, my friend, I'm sorry.
Are you really
Sorry
Sorry.
that
The
you
worst.
had to turn out this way.
No, don't like that. Don't like that.
Oh,
Don't like
this
it.
one was joking, right?
Yeah.
Is she in the chat? Can we make fun of her
She's
to
not
her
in the
face?
chat. She's not in the chat.
Damn.
But in case, on the off chance that you are interested enough to watch this, we are sorry for what I just said. What we just said. We say kind of
Yeah.
contributed.
I didn't contribute. I was the sole perpetrator. Give me the proper credit, man.
Fuck you, man. I'm getting the clout.
It's all about that clout with you. It's
It's
all
all
you
about that clout.
care about.
That's it. The past month, that's all I've been that's all I've been saying. Like, if it's not about the clout, then what's the point?
It's all about
You don't
that.
get the clout off of what you do. Like, are you even doing things properly anymore? Like, are you even? Do you even clout, bro?
If I don't take a certain amount of
Do you
selfies
even
a day,
clout?
do I even exist?
I mean, you don't. You're a robot, but everybody else does.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
communication center. Let's see if we can get out a message to my dad. Dr. Kleiner and my dad are up north at an old missile base. I hope they're still
So,
using this frequency.
David,
Help launch a...
Yes.
what have you been up to?
What have you been up to?
Damn.
Because
What
we've
kind
all
of
been
what
very
have I been up
busy.
to?
And have you been working on videos, perhaps?
Let me see.
Have you
if
been
they're
having
working again.
shenanigans in your personal life? Have you killed anyone and are in trouble for it? What goes on with you?
all of the
Let's-
above.
Have you been chained
Let us
in the
into the
work dungeon
mind
for a
and
month?
world of the David.
This could take
All
a
of the
while.
above. There is a certain
If you have any
collaboration
insights into how to fix this, go
video
for it.
or videos with a certain YouTuber who makes videos about comic book video games and other video games
Oh, yes?
that is coming up that I am working
Now,
on.
check in.
That may or may not come out.
How's that
eventually.
going?
Not too much progress on that front. I, at the very
White Forest. White
I have
Forest. This is
been-
Alex Vance. Do you read?
inordinately busy with my education lately, so that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Education.
We're okay. We made it out of city
I watched a TV series on Amazon Prime Video called El Internado Las Cumbres, which is fun. It's all about a satanic cult at a boarding school in northern Spain. So if you're a big fan of satanic cults, I can recommend a television program for you.
And that would be what?
El Internado Las Cumbres.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's the English name might be the boarding school Las Cumbres because that's what El Internado means. So there you go. That might be it. I also, like everybody else on the internet, watched the new episode of the WandaVision recently. Vision.
Yeah.
What else has been going on with me? I was nominated and I won an award at the school at which I go to for the
no
best
way!
person,
What happened with that? That
for
sounds
the
awesome.
best person for the outstanding person.
Best person! Oh my
within
god,
my
dude! I
department.
knew you'd win the best person award. You are the best person.
Exactly. Or the best student in the Spanish department. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeet.
Yeah, you've been up on that shit
Yeet.
all fucking year.
Yeet.
2 years.
Yeet. So anyway, I've just been busy with school. I've been just trucking along, trying to survive, and it's c'est la vie, you know.
Yeah.
C'est la vie.
C'est
I
la
get
vie.
that.
Dad, are you there? Dad!
Do you even parler français?
Do you even parlor
Yes.
Française? No parlo.
Francois.
Tu
Français.
parles français, mon
No.
ami?
No parlo français.
Tu parles français,
For everyone in the
ami?
chat, have you watched the new video and or new videos rather? And
Oh,
or
yeah.
what do you think of them? We worked very
watch
hard.
He said he'll
Yes,
let me
please
go
go
if we
watch
get it
them.
to if we get it to 1 million views in the next 3 days. Please, I need this. Okay,
Yes.
go watch it.
He hasn't seen his family in days. All I feed him is just like scraps of like barely cooked meat.
Because also
It's like
Diego did good
leftover
work on it.
scrums of fucking burgers and
Also, Diego
fucking-
did good work on it.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
Diego's writing was a lot of fun to edit with, and he was very good about getting me all the gameplay footage of all the stuff that he recorded.
Also,
was cool.
he's a better. editor
I've
than
never
you,
really edited
Xavier.
someone else's game review before, and it was kind of difficult
The trick.
because I would have to go through all of his footage for every game and try to figure out what the hell he was talking about. But I think it worked out.
Up at White Forest.
And I
Also,
really
he's a
like that
better
video
he's a
turned out
better
in the end.
actor than you, Xavier.
Tap into the old array they set.
Oh yeah.
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 Is that right? You reckon?
I do reckon.
On God, mate. Yeah. Oh, look up. Oh, you missed. I'm looking at the stream. Actually, never mind. I'm looking at not your screen. I'm like fucking delayed. Way
I don't know. I
delayed.
think I was pretty convincing as me.
We're not alone.
I think you're pretty convincing as you.
I don't
I've
know.
been
I
researching
think
the role my whole life.
I don't think you quite nailed the Xavierisms. I don't think you're going method enough on the role.
I don't think. No.
I need to
think,
mispronounce more words.
I think maybe you should be the one locked up in this dungeon, and I should be the one.
I think you should send your
hooking you up to
I think you should
chains.
send your co-stars more used condoms. I think that's a good way of method acting.
Oh my God! If okay, real talk. If Xavier did that, I would not talk to him at all, like ever again.
That's probably a reasonable.
I don't know
point.
how Jared Leto got away with it on the set of Suicide Squad, or why like the actors just like didn't fucking I don't know yell at him on the spot. But like I don't know. But did the actors like how did they react to seeing what fucking Leto did?
Oh no!
So Alex died. That's fucking fun.
How did the kids react to what, huh?
You know Jared Leto on the set of Suicide Squad when he was method acting the Joker and send them fucking used condoms and dead rats in boxes and shit?
yeah.
Yeah, how did they react? Were they like, oh my god, hi, you're so quirky? Or they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And complain to, like, management.
I can't remember. I remember a couple of them were, like, kind of silent about it, and others were like, yeah, it was weird.
That's it? Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, that was probably most
Well,
of the
I'm
case.
paraphrasing for comedy.
I know.
I do that quite often.
It's a galunga.
I can't wait for...
Among Us?
I can't wait
Among
for
Us?
the, what was it?
Among Us?
His, Jared Leto's next starring role in Mobius. The living vampire.
M-O
The living vampire who needs plasma.
I would pay to see that movie if and only if he constantly goes, I need plasma. Must have plasma.
I'm sure he will, and I'm sure that scene will be, like, overly dramatic with, like, a lot of orchestral, like, fucking desperate sounding music. He's like, he's speaking, I need plasma!
Please, I must have plasma.
As he's about to die. And then, like, probably a rat or something walks by and he just fucking pulls out his tentacled vagina hands and puts it on the fucking rat and sucks out the plasma. Tentacle, what the fuck did I just say? Jesus.
His scary butthole fingers will suck the plasma out of your butt.
My kin will meet us at a location beneath.
Oh my god!
He does that sometimes.
This guy, this voice actor, he was on Star Trek!
Oh my
Yes!
god.
Now you get to love the game even more now.
Help awaits us.
You should play Half-Life Alyx, maybe, perhaps. You should do that.
Are there any Star Trek voice actors in that game?
I don't know, but, like, maybe.
Her state is delicate.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna waste my time unless there's a Star Trek voice actor on a game. Yes! Yes!
What's his name?
Well, how are
Christopher
these
Judge,
games
the
a
guy that
crowbar?
you made a mural of all of his funny faces.
Crowbar! I have a crowbar!
Like a collage. Christopher Judge, the guy who plays new Kratos, was on an old like 90s sci-fi TV show called Stargate, I think.
Yeah, I remember that.
And David thought he was so like camp and crazy and silly in that role that he made a collage of all the funniest faces he makes in that show in like high school.
Yeah.
And I still remember it to this day.
I still have it somewhere.
You gotta fucking post that again.
Yeah, that was
How long
good.
ago was that?
I don't know, like 7 years.
Honestly, probably. Yeah, I
Probably
decided
more
to
like
binge.
4, but like everything feels like.
I decided to binge oh no! I decided to binge that show Stargate. It's a 2000s show actually. And I was just like, ooh, I'm gonna star that gate if you know what I mean. And then
Yeah.
Gonna tap the pussy? Oh look, there's fucking health packs and energy packs. Go get them. Go get them. Yeah.
yes, I did get
Let's
them.
slurp them up.
Go.
Ooh. We
But yeah.
live in an energy-based society.
Don't ever fucking bring that up. That was such a stupid line.
Hey, we have to talk about this.
Moritaka Ishida says, I'm only 2 volumes into Nick Spencer's run of Spider-Man and so far loving it, but noticing on Twitter people are complaining about the run now. What happened? Some pretty severe pacing issues. It takes forever to get to the point. It's got a storyline that you could wrap up in like 10 issues, and it's trying to explain the whole thing in 30. And it's just getting very like maddening having to read it like bi-weekly because you just feel like nothing's happening, you know? It's just all filler at this point. Even like the plot relevant stuff feels like filler because it's so slow. It's bad. Like the what's there is like done well. It's just so slow that it's like having a hard time keeping everyone's interest, you know?
Yeah. It was a run that I was really excited for.
Oh, there's the bugs. Look, it's a bug.
It is a bug.
Should I
They
shoot
give
the
you
bug?
health. Yeah. But ultimately, that run it has been, so far anyway, like as of recently, been pretty disappointing. Look, those little fucking yellow pellets, those will regenerate your health.
Oh, yeah?
Each one will give you
Go
about
eat them. Go slurp them up.
1 health. Will give you 1 health per pellet.
I need a health. Please, sir, can I have a health?
He needs the plasma.
I must have plasma.
He must have.
If you
plasma.
eat those crystals, you can teleport when you jump.
Oh yeah. It's like that one thing from that one game that we were playing yesterday.
What game were you playing yesterday?
That's such a fun game. Can we talk about that for a second? That
What
game's
game?
a really fun game. Well, we're not gonna say just yet because we kind of want to. Actually, Xavier, you like vaguely paraphrase what the game is about and make it sound like it's not the game that we're talking about. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I'm still fucking like, my brain is on airplane mode right now.
I feel like Xavier's brain is on airplane mode too right now.
We're gonna need like a fucking week to recover, man. I was rough.
Oh yeah.
I kept telling you should be easier on yourself, but you didn't.
But like,
We had
with
to
all
meet
hands
we
on
wanted to
deck,
meet a deadline. We had to get it out.
with all hands on deck, we nearly missed the threshold.
I realize that. But
We overshot the due date. So like, if we did relax, I don't think the video would be out today or by today.
Oh yeah. Even with everyone like working their asses off all at once, we're 3 days after our intended upload date.
Yeah.
this should teach you to settle
But,
for mediocrity
you know-
instead of pushing for quality.
I disagree with that. I disagree with you.
Yeah, well, you live in a society.
That's right. I do.
There's some real societyism going on right there.
That's some real racism against people who live in societies, right there.
That's racist.
Ishida, to answer your question, I don't recommend you necessarily drop the series before a bad pace. Like, I don't know if bad pacing is necessarily like enough to like just drop it entirely because like I said, what's there is like kind of good. It's just taking forever to get to the point, and like you're gonna be kind of missing out on like the whole crux of the story, like all the most important stuff that everything's been building up to. You know, I'm not saying drop the story or or quit reading it. I'm just saying that just like be prepared because it's gonna be really difficult
The stuff that he's
and
doing
hopefully
is
worth
good.
it in the end.
The stuff that he's doing
He's
is
just
good, I
he's
think.
he's
just
doing
taking
good
his
stuff
long ass
way
time.
too fucking slow. Yeah.
Big
At
old
least all the
fucking
action and the art stuff is like really good though.
Well,
They've
you
gotten
see-
some great artists on this book.
Well, you see, your real problem was reading comic books.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know. Comic books. I listen to it. I put my ear against the cover of the book, and I just listen. And the book just tells me what it's about.
I feel like a lot of maxi series lately are having the same kind of problem. Is that the writer doesn't know how to keep like an ongoing series for like years at a time. So they're like, okay, I'll come up with like a little bit of story and just stretch it way out. Instead of coming up with a lot of story and having it be really punchy and quick like it was in the 80s.
Yeah. Man, how disappointing was that Sony press conference thing for the games the other day?
Oh, that was 24 minutes of just like nothing.
Everybody was just like, "Oh shit!"
So for
fucking
somebody who
God of
doesn't
War,
watch this,
whoa,
could
Spider-Man
you
PS5 perhaps.
Like
you give
I
me
always go
the-
into those conferences with the lowest expectations.
So could you give me the Cliff Notes version of that for somebody who doesn't really play a lot of video games?
So basically, it was we're gonna show off new games that are coming to the PS5. Whoa, isn't that exciting? And then everybody's like, "Oh shit, that must mean God of War and Spider-Man PS5 and all those big titles." Because why the fuck wouldn't you? But they ended up showing the only exciting one that they showed that everybody already like kind of anticipated and already had like pre-established, gaming history happening was Five Nights at Freddy's, which kind of looks cool, admittedly. But everything else was kind of like just new IP stuff, and we didn't get to see any of the stuff that like we were expecting to see, and consequently that made the event and the fact that it was short as well.
It is cool that they were just like, hey, let's focus on new IPs because these are like smaller games that probably would not get as big attention, Yeah, we were all talking about how Kena looked really cool. Like, all of us really want to play that now because just the gameplay and the trailer looked so cool and the art design is perfect. But some of the other stuff in there just wasn't really catching my attention. Like, I was kind of zoning out on a lot of it. Oh, yeah, Deathloop was the other one. I really wanted Deathloop stuff.
Kena
so
and Deathloop and Five Nights at Freddy's really caught my attention. Kena has this really cool
everything
anime art
else,
style.
Whatever else there was just like I've completely blanked it out of my mind because it didn't leave a very strong impression. So we were disappointed on like established IPs, but in terms of new stuff, there is like, decent. There was 2 diamonds in the rough, and then everything else was just like whatever,
It was just iron.
At that point, you might as well have just I don't know, not done a conference or something.
I feel like if you were to do a conference, and I feel like that's why people were so disappointed. If you were to do a conference, typically you'd want to make it a lot longer.
So I didn't care about that. That's. I'm sure someone was really excited about Oddworld, but I wasn't.
If you want to do a conference, I think anyway, I feel like you should make it more than just 24 minutes, and you should have just a bunch of I'm talking about a fuck ton of new games that you want to show off to make to justify the conference ever existing to begin with. And I feel like people went into that
because if it's only 20 minutes worth of stuff, you could have just uploaded that. Didn't have to be a live stream. You could just been like, here's the PlayStation slate for the next year or so, or just released all of them as individual trailers.
Yeah, and
I think what their goal was to people will go in, people like us will go in expecting God of War because we're fucking big ass fanboys who are obsessed with this shit, and then we'll see stuff like Kena and go, okay, I'm sad there's no God of War, but I'm into that. And I guess in that regard, it totally worked. But I will say, I was just a little disappointed that not a lot of stuff that really was personally a thing that I was super into happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a kind of a mixed bag. There was good things, and then there's good and bad.
The good and bad.
Was there any ugly?
The good, the bad, and the indie.
Yeah, Oddworld's looked kind of ugly, if I'm honest. The character designs, I'm not kind of. I don't know, but that's just
I think that's kind of the aesthetic of that series.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Everything I know about Abe's Odyssey and all those games is that they just kind of look like the cat. It's it's probably an acquired taste.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just a me thing. It's not objectively ugly or anything. Just I didn't vibe the art style or the character designs. One of the guys had band-aids with fucking thick stitches on his mouth. And I'm like, that looks kind of ugly. But again, that's just me.
No, that was cool.
I don't like that. But it was a little bit disturbing.
Maybe just because I personally like more gritty, ugly kind of aesthetic sometimes.
I like gritty aesthetic as well, but I feel like there's a threshold that I don't want to ass, and that kind of goes.
No, I'm
I don't know.
all about
I just never been a
go
fan.
nuts, make it hideous.
I've
Make it
never been-
hideous but pretty at being hideous.
Well, I don't know.
call
I've
that
just never been a
prettiest.
fan of that art style.
What did you think of the fighting game they showed?
What fighting game was it?
It left so little of an impression that I can't even remember what fighting game. I don't remember there being a fighting game. That's how much it did not catch my eye.
Yeah, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Deathloop. Was,
maybe if you
really cool.
Deathloop looks cool.
I don't know if they
Kinda
showed
like
anything.
They're
new.
using. They didn't show a ton of new stuff.
It showed, or
Yeah,
didn't
the fighting game. Oh wait, oh. Okay, the game where the guy was like
the
beating
fucking
people up in
Daredevil
hallways.
Yeah, that was a cool
Yeah,
one.
that looks fine, I guess. I don't know. Looks kind of neat. Not. I don't know if it's like something I'm like super like. Yeah, I'll get that. It looked fine. You know.
It did?
It was all right. Like I said, didn't leave much of an impression. Like the combat looked cool, but like nothing else about it really. They didn't really show anything else about it other than cool looking combat. And you know, sometimes I need like a little more than that. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a little cock and ball.
It's like, yeah, what even is that game? It's just like fighting. That's all we saw. Did it have a story? Did it not? I feel like these are the things they need to show in a trailer.
Hey, that guy thought I was an antlion.
Alex Vance is over here. The board's trying to patch her up.
Oh, I love this section. This section has some of the best fucking. You know, I won't even say.
It has some of the best.
And
fucking,
we will
I
have
won't even say.
burgers and chicken wings later.
What about burgers and chicken wings?
And it's just talking about how much she wants burgers and chicken wings.
I might be going over to a friend's, like in the next week or so, to have some chicken wings.
Hey, look! I found a
Remember when? Remember that,
Look,
that
I
picture
found
that I
a
sent in the group
Half-Life.
chat? Oh my god, that's Half-Life. That's Half-Life right there. This is Half-Life. Remember that picture that I sent in the group chat, Xavier, with the fucking wings and the views and everything by the water and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might be going over to that same place again with that same friend, chilling out again. We'll see, though.
That'd be cool.
That'd be really cool. I haven't been out in a month. On account of the chains and the dungeon and the dark room. And, yeah.
Yeah.
For now, we
Yeah.
must not be disturbed.
I hear that, brother.
Yeah.
As long as you're down here, Freeman, maybe you can give us a hand. Let me show you how the
Dr. Freeman.
This guy
in the
played
flesh.
a Klingon on Star Trek.
The
The voice actor.
flashlight.
The voice actor who played the Vortigaunt was also a Klingon on Star Trek. He played Worf's brother.
This sensor will light up if an antlion's
Yeah. Guy's got a cool resume, it seems.
You're being super condescending about this. It sounds like.
I'm not, no.
I have to look it up because I feel like I might know something else that guy was in.
He was also Candyman, but obviously Star Trek is his much more important role.
Oh. You mean Tony Todd?
Yes.
The fucking Candyman?
Yes.
last two turrets. And even these are held together.
You know him from Star Trek.
Yes.
He's the Candyman.
Yes.
Hey, Griggs, you might want to show
One of the most iconic horror villains of all time.
He was on Star Trek as Worf's brother.
They're coming. One light. Let's move.
No, you.
Alright, you fucking weirdo.
Listen, it's not weird. It's perfectly normal to be obsessed with Star Trek.
In order to prepare for the role of the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix became a gamer and lived in society for 2,643 days. That's impressive.
You know, if only Jared Leto
Somebody,
had watched
like,
Star
Apparently
Trek.
he's also
instead
the
of-
voice of Darkseid in a lot. He's the voice of Darkseid in a lot of the animated DC movies.
Somebody just liked the stream. I think it's kind of funny.
Well,
Yeah,
joke's on them. Even
sorry.
if it's a dislike, it's still engagement. And that pushes it up in the algorithm. So,
Algorithm.
Play
Thank you
this-
to the disliker.
so
Very
like or
cool.
dislike.
Thanks to everyone who comments in the algorithm.
Everybody, thank you to comments. Thank you to subscribers. Thank you to everybody who has, for any reason, shows engagement.
Thank you to the hatters. Very nice.
Very nice. So you like
So
this
you know
section?
how I love this section, dude. You don't gotta use the mines just yet. This is like the start, okay? All you gotta do is run them down for now. When shit gets extreme, then you could use the shit around you to like prepare and basically automate the process. And it's such a cool fucking section because even with all of that, you need to be fully hands-on. You need to be fully engaged with what's happening. And like it keeps escalating, but it doesn't get like necessarily insanely hard or impossible to do. It's still fun, but like it's a lot more tense. And there's a really cool balance in that section, and I love that so much. Plus, the music that plays later on is like one of my favorite because it fits the theme and the tone and the action so fucking well. I could go on
that
about
sounds
Half-Life
pretty nerdy.
fucking ever, man. Half-Life is dope. Hey, you guys played Half-Life, Alex? No, you should. Don't watch any playthroughs of it. I'm serious.
No, because I haven't actually,
did that.
because I don't have money for a $1,000 game system. Surprisingly,
What? But you're a YouTuber. You always have money somehow.
yeah, but I'm a YouTuber with no subscribers.
No subscribers.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, you got
Fucking
the difference
CNN,
here is that Xavier is a
YouTube.
YouTuber with no soul.
That's why he gets the money because he sold
Yeah.
it to fucking Mephisto.
He sold out to Disney.
Yeah.
And that's why he has all the money.
Like Mephisto, I'll give you my soul if you give me like an endless amount of cash every month. And then Mephisto's like,
Mephisto,
okay.
I'll give you my
in
soul.
exchange, I'll take your fucking happiness and your enjoyment for the craft of YouTubing. And then that's what happened. Now he absolutely hates his job, but like, what can he do? You know, that's the deal that he signed.
Yeah.
He signed away his soul for mediocre success on a YouTube hosting website. And for Patreon.
I wouldn't call it mediocre. It's like it's a little bit higher than mediocre, I would say.
You're saying that YouTube is not mediocre?
I'm
What
saying
world
Xavier
do you live on?
is mediocre. I'm complimenting my friend.
I'm going to become the mediocre.
No, that's Doug Walker. I
That's
was
what
going
my
to say
friends...
Doug Reisman for a second. I'm like, that's not right.
Oh. Doug Reisman. Now, there's a guy who knows how to do cool.
Doug Reisman. There's the guy who knows how to mediocre.
I'm talking to people.
David, get that other turret that's in front of the tunnel that's not getting attacked and put it in the middle one. Because
No.
that way you have more like manpower protect. No, the middle one, the one to your left. Because then you can just protect this one at all costs. Because these turrets can explode if the fucking allies get close to them and attack them. And so you kind of want to prevent that. So you might want to double your manpower.
I'll think about it.
As far as wherever you can, and then just do the rest yourself.
Someone's asking, what do we think of Spider-Man Lotus, the fan film that's coming out?
You know
I have not
what?
heard
The
of it.
costume looks cool. I don't know that much else about it. I've seen the suit.
They have
that
not really
Harry
shown
Osborn's
anything
probably
else
in it.
other than the costume. And while, yes, the costume is very cool, I don't know. I'm not like, I'm typically not super jazzed on fan films because they just seem really heavily derivative of whatever movie property or a version exists at the time. Like, if you watch Spider-Man fan films from throughout the years, it's like cutting off the rings or cutting down a tree and counting the rings, you can always just see like what was going on at the time. You know, it's just alright, Tom Holland's popular right now, so it'll be really heavy Tom Holland Spider-Man. But then you go back like a year prior to him showing up, and it's like, oh, this is still like Andrew Garfield heavy. Like, I feel like fan films fall into the trap of like not being super creative and just kind of just like almost sort of just being the writer and or actors just kind of trying to like do something else somebody already did but with themselves in it. And what I would like to encourage for more fan films is like try to push the boundaries a little bit more and really go for like a new aesthetic or a new take or like, you know, like a new tone, like interpret it in new ways, be like, you know, be a little bit more loosey-goosey with it. You don't gotta conform to whatever is like the big Hollywood version right now. You can, you know, unless you're like trying to do like a nostalgic tribute, like fucking that one fan film from like what was it, the 90s that was like when that one Spider-Man fan film from the 90s that was like designed to be like a live action version of an episode of the 60s cartoon, that was cool. You know, there's like tributes where they're like doing it like on purpose. Those are cool. But yeah, I don't know. I would say I'm like a little iffy on a lot of fan films because like they're very much a mixed bag, and we'll see what they can do. I know they reached their stretch goal of like however much money for the budget, and that's really cool. So we'll see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I feel like
a lot of people have asked me to make a fan film, and I can't. I could never do that in a million years. I'm too shy to be like on camera like more than I have to. You know, I'll do it like a little, but I don't want to be like, you know, I don't want to do that much. I would have to like spend a lot more time fucking exposure therapy, like doing live action stuff and like getting used to like acting in front of people, like legitimate acting instead of just funny, silly, haha goofs. Because I've taken acting classes before and like I do actually have some experience with it, you know. But the live action stuff on YouTube, I'm not really like playing a character. I'm just kind of being myself in like a funny situation. Like even in that fucking Batman sketch, I'm not being Batman. I'm being me. Yeah, I do think that people who make fan films are pretty brave because like there's always kind of the risk that you'll come off as cringy or get like laughed at or just seem like kind of like a kid playing dress up, you know, and like they just kind of power through it anyway and just like try and make something that they're passionate about and that, you know, that really like speaks to them, and I think that's cool. I completely unironically think that is like really brave and fun.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot that goes into making platforms versus closing yourself or anything, really. Whether or not you're like putting yourself in front of the camera, just putting yourself out there, in context. Like, to some extent, that takes a lot of courage. Some more than others, of course. Like putting yourself out there physically is a lot more. I would say a lot more like oof than like I don't know.
Yeah.
Putting a video where like you're not even in it. But even then,
big fucking prop to the Sean Pools of the world who are like, I want to make a Spider-Man fan film, but I don't have the budget for like a stunt crew or like safety nets or rigs or like wire work or anything. So he just gets on a fucking 5-story. Sean Poole, the guy who did what was it? The Revenge of the Green Goblin or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact title.
Can't say I'm familiar with it. Can't say I'm familiar with it.
Green Goblin's Last Stand, that's what it was.
Don't know what it's about.
It was a 1992 fan film. It was 92. And so these guys, led by this guy Sean Poole, wanted to make a Spidey fan film that was like a tribute to like
Tony
Gary
Todd,
Conway like
Tony
70s
Todd.
comics. So it was just like a straight adaptation of like the death of Gwen Stacy.
Right.
And Sean Poole himself played Spider-Man, and he like worked out a ton to get in shape for the role. He styled his hair exactly how like Todd McFarlane was drawing it at the time. He made his own suit from scratch. And how do you simulate web swinging in 1992 without the access of like a blue screen or any kind of visual effect?
Let me actually see that.
He actually just started getting up on like 5-story fire escapes with a rope tied to an opposite building across the street and just swinging around like a fucking crazy person. Or there's a scene where he's on top of a moving car trying to stop the guys inside who are like criminals running away, like that mini game that's in all the games. But he actually was doing. Or there's like a scene where he does like a backflip off of like a billboard on a roof onto another roof. And he somehow manages to get it. He's a fucking psycho. But it looks so good.
Right? 1990s?
You gotta watch Green Goblin's Last Stand. It was before all of this shit.
Right?
That's
like,
how fucking dedicated this guy was. Here, you know what? And actually, it went kind of like... weirdly enough, it did go kind of like viral in terms of like what could go viral at the time, because back then people would just like copy VHS tapes and share it around. That's how South Park got big. Like the first pilot episode of that is you fucking copy it over on your friend's VHS, and then he has a copy, and then he'll show it to his friend, and they just share it around, and before you know it, everyone in the fucking United States has a copy of this VHS tape. And it went really big in the 90s to the point that Sam Raimi even kind of for a little while considered giving Sean Poole a cameo in the first movie. It didn't end up going through, but there was like legitimate talks about it apparently.
That's insane. What?
Yeah. It's on YouTube. I sent you the link to it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
you have to look at it.
That's how copies of the Star Wars Holiday Special were shared around back in the day.
We must remain.
Oh, here's
Also,
Zach. I'll send it to you too.
That was the section that you played. What'd you think of that final stage where all the fucking gates were just buzzing red?
It was interesting. It was entertaining.
That was pretty cool. I like the scheme.
I love that. It's got such like good music to it. It's so hype and upbeat.
Unfortunately,
I love that.
I
I
turned
listened
down the
to it.
music, so
Turn down the music.
so I could hear you guys.
Could you like actually hear the music though?
No, not really, not at all.
Oh no! You got to play this section again and with the music up.
No.
Trust me, it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. Not right now, but like you know.
No.
So, anyway, yeah, I'm surprised that more of you fucking Spidey nerds in the comments don't know about Green Goblin's Last Stand. It like predates all this shit, man. That's a classic.
I mean, a lot of I've seen some like fan films of Spider-Man, whatever, and I've noticed that in a lot of them, every time they would want to quip a Spidey, it's just high pitched and really fast talking with like cheesy generic quips.
You know, I've noticed that
And
Star
I
Trek.
don't know.
Take that, ugly.
You know, I've noticed,
Like that.
you know, I've noticed that
And it's
Star
like-
Trek
and
fan
it's
films
kinda
are a
cool.
lot
That's
easier
not-
to make.
Doesn't appeal to me.
I've been thinking about that, and like Star Trek fan films are a lot easier to make because, I mean, like, you know, CG,
Well,
like CG
you don't
animation.
have to be a good actor to be in Star Trek, because all you gotta do is talk like a boring robot with no emotions, because it's the enlightened future where no one
Fuck
gets angry or sad.
you!
I'm just trying to piss you off. But no, yeah, anyway, continue.
But anyway, because all you need to do is build a couple of cheap sets in your garage somewhere, and then you can film it all on like a green screen or whatever. And then once you've done that, like you can just do like, you know, CG animation is coming to the point where, you know, you can do what they did on Star Trek fairly easily. It won't be like great, but it's fairly self-explanatory, you know.
As somebody who has just
like-
done a project for a month where you got to do that, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Well, I
There's so much you
realize
gotta
that.
consider.
I realize
There's
that.
perspective, there's camera
But-
angles and things up, etc.
What I'm saying is that
But
it's
that's
Well, let's say he means like you have the tools at your disposal
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
When
I was
someone
just
maybe
about
like 10 years ago, 15 years ago would not have that.
no. What I'm saying
I was
is
just
that
about to add to that. Yeah,
it's doable.
I just wanted to clarify. It's not as easy as that sounds.
I don't mean like literally
Yeah.
easy. I mean it is much more doable and much less puts yourself in much less risk than what that Spider-Man fan film would require.
I was about to clarify that like just a second.
And like so because of that, there is a lot of Star Trek fan films out there. But the one really cool thing is that there's a lot of Star Trek fan films out there that will have some of the original actors still in them. So like there will be actors like Tony Todd.
Oh yeah,
I think he's
which
shown up
almost
in a-
like kind of like legitimizes them in a weird way.
in a weird way, yeah. Like Walter Koenig has been in a bunch of Star Trek fan films. Like Tony Todd has been in Star Trek fan films. I don't think like the big three have ever been, but like all the extra people have been in fan films before, and that sort of does add a lens of like legitimacy to them. But it's also just like a cool thing that they can do for the fans on the weekend. And yeah, also I think they do pay them, but like basically nothing. They pay them for like probably pay their like hotel bill and like their room and board, but probably not much beyond that. But yeah, it's a really interesting sort of like fan culture that's really sprung up about like the fan films, because there's like this like it's like their own sort of like own fan lore. And, like, some of them are actually, like, pretty professional. Like, there was one that was done by, like... this is kind of unfortunate because he was later accused of, like, sexual bad stuff.
Oh,
but
no.
the voice actor, like, that Vic voice actor, who was, like, really famous in
Oh,
the
Vic
animated
Mignogna?
movie. Mignogna. He played Kirk in, like, a Star Trek fan film project once. That was like pretty legit. As fan films go.
As Kirk?
Yeah, he was Kirk.
I'm saying, was he good as Kirk in the fan film?
I honestly don't remember. I only watched one
I
at
don't.
like a convention.
I'm like having a hard time like picturing that, honestly.
It was only like once on a fan film like many years ago. And I watched it at a convention.
Yeah, I know the guy who plays Commander Shepard's voice in Mass Effect was in a Mass Effect fan film as like another character, like Derek Mears. It was like a prequel set in the universe about how the Mass Effect characters made first contact with an alien race, and he played one of the like early astronauts in it. It was cool. And he was like really on set in like a cool like costume spacesuit that they put together, and fucking just like went for it. It was cool. I'm trying to think of what other cool fan projects. I mean, I feel like Batman fan films always like there's almost kind of like this like higher standard of quality for those versus like other stuff. You know, like Spider-Man fan films, sometimes you get shit like Cake Day, which is like awesome and like movie quality almost, like just barely under. Then other times you get the kind of cringy side of it where it's like a guy who's like 35 and doesn't really look like Peter Parker at all whatsoever, but he's asked all of his friends and coworkers to like be in it, and they're like clearly filming it in like the office between like lunch breaks or something. And it's like, I don't know, it's bless their heart, but it's like a little hard to watch, you know.
It's like a Tommy Wiseau project.
But like
case.
Batman stuff, huh? Was that?
It's almost like a Tommy Wiseau project in that sense. And it's
Yeah,
just kinda, like,
sometimes
hard to
it can get to that cringy level because sometimes it can almost be like this sort of like weird like pseudo vanity project for someone who does not have the money to make like a legitimate vanity project. So he's just like asking all of his friends and family who vaguely resemble the characters to like play the parts, and they're like too polite to say no, but they're like not. None of them are actors necessarily, or like they're just like cringing at the lines they're saying, and you can see it, kind of thing. That's another side of it, and like like everything I said about how it's still a lot of bravery to put together a project like that still applies there, but there's sometimes where it's a little hard to watch certain fan projects because you're like, oh, this is someone trying to like make themselves look cool, not really tell a story or like pay tribute to a character. They just kind of want to like write a really awkward love interest. Like they'll just get any random blonde girl they know and be like, okay, you're Gwen Stacy, now tell me I'm awesome and kiss me in this scene while I'm in a Spider-Man suit. That happens sometimes.
I mean, that's not,
what
that's
I'm
like
getting to is that like of all the Batman fan films I've seen, for some reason they're just like almost never that. Batman fan films are always like really like serious and high quality, and like they really use their budget well. Like the Bat in the Sun, like City of Scars. There's a lot of Joker fan films like that. That one where he's like doing some kind of interview at the asylum, and they have like this claymation segment where he's talking about his childhood. It was really cool. The title is escaping me right now. God, there's even like around like the time Dark Knight Rises came out, there's a couple of like cool like fan follow-ups about like Robin Blake actually becoming like a new Batman, or like kind of a sort of like a vigilante, like a Robin in that universe kind of thing. So like, yeah, there's a lot of cool shit like that. There's definitely like, I don't know, just Batman fan films seem to like push the envelope a little harder, and I think that's kind of fascinating and neat.
It's an interesting sort of subculture, fan films.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really is.
Or even that really cool one where it's Batman versus Alien and Predator in an alley that had really good costumes, and like I was impressed that they were able to make it rain the entire thing, so it seemed like it was like actually outside in a rainy city. I don't know how they did. They must have had just like a fire hose set up in the sky or something. And then the Alien and Predator costumes were really cool. Zach says he thinks it's because a lot of people have a lot more respect for Batman in his world, and because it's looked at more seriously. I could definitely see that, because like of all superhero stuff, I would say Batman gets taken the most seriously of all of it, and like that's
versus like
definitely
Spider-Man,
thanks
where
in
you
part
see
to
him
the
a lot
Nolan
more
trilogy.
as like an everyday guy. He's more like you.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people try to just make "here's me as Spider-Man" kind of stuff, like vanity project sort of things. But with Batman, it's like he's this like really deep, tortured character that like you gotta like become, and he has just like this really kind of specific sort of atmosphere and tone that they try to follow along with. So yeah, there's a lot of cool shit on that front. I will say, however, does anyone remember that really weird fan film about Batman that was produced by Christian Bale's cousin? As like a passive-aggressive jab at him because she was jealous that he got the role of Batman?
No.
I shit you not, this is a real thing. I'm waiting for William to get back to tell me what the title of it was.
But
it's this
about all this
horrible, crazy... Well, no, because he was the one who introduced it to us. There's this fan film that was, like, produced in part by Christian Bale's cousin, who made it as, like, a shitpost to get back at him. Oh, yeah, there you are. Made it as, like, a shitpost to get back at him for getting the role of Batman in like 2005, so that's around when it came out. And the plot of it is that Batman's out on patrol one night fighting a bunch of criminals, and one of them in particular is like some guy who seems to like know him, right? And this guy gets the better of Batman and tases him in the balls to incapacitate him. And that works, even though he'd probably have like... It takes like 3 seconds to completely knock him out by tasing him in the balls. And then he kidnaps him and then ties him up and injects him with heroin for several days and beats him and then sodomizes Batman against his will forcefully. It's horrible and disgusting. And reveals that he was like an innocent guy that Batman like accidentally took to prison one night or something. Like he just got caught up in a Batman thing and it like ruined his life.
It was just like
and then
one day, and Batman's like, "This guy must be their getaway driver," and then he took him in.
And then so it ruined this guy's life, and now he was like getting his revenge. And then it ends with the guy who kidnaps Batman injecting himself with so much heroin that he like dies on the spot, and then Batman finally gets out of his shackles. It was what, huh?
Doesn't he shoot himself?
What'd you say?
Doesn't he shoot himself?
Maybe he shoots it. Okay, no, yeah, he shoots himself in the head. You're right. He shoots himself in the head, and then Batman gets out and is like so emotionally broken and tortured that he injects himself with a bunch of heroin and dies. Yeah, okay, it was Batman who does it. And that's the whole story. And it was just made as this weird thing where they're like, I want to emasculate and sexually humiliate Batman, I guess. It's just fucked up and crazy. And like the fact that it's produced by Christian Bale's cousin is like such a weird fucking fact to me that I can't fucking comprehend it. It's like, do you hate him that much that as soon as he gets the role, you want to make a movie about the character he's playing getting like raped and tortured? Like, what the hell? There's like some weird family drama and history going on there. There's something like fucked up that we don't know about, and like that is, I don't even know what is that fan film called, William? Do you remember the title?
No. I don't.
Damn it!
I did post it in the chat though, so you can just go up and like.
Why
I don't know.
do you
Look for it, I guess.
I have a very important question for you.
It was in 2005, so like how hard could it be to look up 2005 Batman fan film?
I have a very important question for you. Why did you think it necessary that I know that this fan film existed?
I mean, we have the audience.
Because it's crazy.
Maybe they wanted to know.
Oh, well, that's cool. That's kind of gross.
I think it's just called The Death of Batman.
I think that's what it's called. The 2005 fan film.
Oh wait, no, it's not. It's not Christian Bale's cousin. It's his sister.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Let me look. Hold on. I want to make sure. Louise Bale played Martha Wayne in this film, while her younger brother, Christian Bale, later played Batman in Batman Begins.
So how do we get this?
The death of Batman. Because we were just talking about fan films.
Right.
This came out in 2003. It was like after he got cast, so she made it before the movie came out.
I thought it was 5. Oh.
No. The Death of Batman fan film.
Why?
This thing is so fucking crazy. The earliest upload of it on YouTube is 2006.
God damn. Yeah, you know what? That's why I thought it was 2005.
This thing is... that's such a weird, crazy, psychopath thing to me that exists.
Sounds like Zack Snyder
It was around
really...
long enough, and it like was such a legitimate production. It has an IMDb page.
Sounds like Zack Snyder was really inspired by this fan film.
Zach, when Batman Begins came out and Superman Returns right after, he's like, if I was the one making Batman, I would have him get raped in prison, and if I was the one making Superman, I would have him rip people's arms off.
Also, did you see that? Zack Snyder has a Netflix zombie movie coming out called
World War Z?
It's called Army of the Dead, and it's been in development hell for many, many years. But when he was originally developing it, around the time that he released Sucker Punch, he said, and I quote, that in that movie there would be a plot point or an idea or a premise where the zombies rape human women, and there's like a hybrid half zombie, half human race spawned from that.
I'm glad that got taken out as the fucking production went on.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Netflix, when they were deciding to agree, because Netflix basically what they do is that they're like, whenever a filmmaker in Hollywood can't sell their screenplay anywhere else, they go to Netflix and like, look, I dug this screenplay out of my shoebox, give me $100 million, and they do. I feel like when Netflix read this screenplay, they're like, this is good, Zach, but can you remove the rape?
Because like, remove the zombie rape.
This is the same company.
Talk about how that doesn't.
It's so disgusting.
That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. How does the blood flow work to give a zombie an erection? And if they're rotting, could not their genitals just fall off?
Shut the fuck up. That's too like. That makes too much sense.
If a zombie's whole thing is to eat people, why would it also be like, oh, this one I don't want to eat. This one will be like, I don't. How does a zombie distinguish between what is a cannibal thing and what is a rapey thing? I don't.
Well, cannibals are the one with women, of course. What are you, stupid? This movie is ahead of its time. Shut up. Zack Snyder is a god.
What if the zombie
I'm feeling
was like
real
a gay
glad
man?
that
Is it like this? Like,
decided
are they trying to say it's like, oh, it's the human instinct? Well, what about female zombies? What if like a woman gets bit? Does she turn into an also rape zombie that wants to rape men?
Impossible.
Or does she also rape women, trying to impregnate them with her lack of zombie penis?
These are all words.
Shut up.
I don't. There's just like so many questions that you could ask about that. It's like you didn't think about it. You were just making some weird fetish bullshit, and then the studio was like, no, and then you just tried to like make a legitimate movie after the fact. That's so gross. I hate that. It's so gross.
Zack Snyder is a visionary, and I won't have you berate him like that. Fucking idiot.
I do agree with you, Zack, not Snyder, in the comments, is that Zack Snyder just adds or mentions rape to just about everything because he thinks it makes it more serious.
That's
I totally believe that. If you want it to be like, oh, this is a mature story, this is a story for adults, let's just throw that in there. But like, if you don't know how to handle the thematic weight of that, and like if you don't know how to do it in a classy thing, or in a classy way, that's like, because I'm not saying it's inherently wrong or evil to depict that. There's a lot of very powerful films and stories that use it.
You have to be aware.
You have to be very careful with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And aware of the people that it affects, the people who have gone through that, and the people who unfortunately can relate to these sorts of topics. You know, you don't want to misrepresent the way that things have gone for them, or like use it for just cheap shock value. That's why I think I've lost a lot of respect for Mark Miller after reading Kick-Ass 2. Like, Kick-Ass 2, the movie, is like fine. It's not as good as the first one, but like whatever. Kick-Ass 2, the comic, is just so over the top and shocking for the sake of shocking like, you know that scene where Red Mist breaks into that girl's house and is like, him and his supervillain gang are threatening to, assault her, and they play it off as a joke because he can't get it up because he's too nervous, and then she like makes fun of him, and then they just leave. In the comic, that was a different character getting like grabbed up by the supervillains. It was the love interest girl, the high school girl from the first movie.
Oh.
And also, they did not like turn it into a joke where they're like, "Oh, he can't get up." They just went through with it. They just multiple different supervillains.
I feel like
Are you talking about Hiko, or are you talking about the love interest from the first movie?
No, the love interest from the first movie. They do that to her, and they go through with it, and that's like one thing. It's like, all right, that's a little bit like almost in poor taste because that character just like did not. That's just, I don't know. It just seems like so fucking like just mean spirited.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, for the whole rest of the comic, they don't talk about it except one scene where it's played for laughs, where it's a joke. Because in the comic, Dave, the Kick-Ass, and that girl never actually hook up because after the whole he was just pretending to be gay thing, she just reacts like a normal person and thinks he's an idiot and an asshole and like doesn't date him like in the movie. So like Kick-Ass is like, you did that to my girlfriend, dude, that's fucked up. And then Red Mist, it's like played as they're like both being like really like childish at each other, and Red Mist is like, she's not even your girlfriend, loser. And it's like they start arguing back and forth about that, and that's the only mention of it gets, and she never appears in the book again after that.
That's fucked up.
So it was really just used for shock value. It was also within 2 pages of Red Mist using an Uzi to gun down a bunch of kindergartners in like a front yard in the neighborhood.
Jesus.
And I'm just like, okay, it's like I said, it's not wrong or evil to portray these things. It's just like, if you don't know how to handle them properly, you seem like an edgy 13-year-old who's just like throwing that shit in for the sake of it. Because you're like, oh, this is an edgy, dark story. This is gonna be shocking, violent, and over the top. It's gonna make people squirm. And then it's just like, yeah, but why? What are you hoping to gain with that? And Mark Miller apparently was not talented enough of a writer to actually use any of these scenes for anything. They just happen and then are immediately just brushed under the rug, so that there could be more scenes of like Dave making jokes about how he masturbates too much, or fucking, I don't know, like really cringy, shoehorned, fucking ham-fisted like comic book references that feel like Big Bang Theory level writing of just, the joke is that we referenced a comic book thing. Isn't that funny? I used to love that guy's stories a lot, but like then I started like reading more of them, like not because I was like, I really liked his stuff for Marvel. Like I like Marvel Knights Spider-Man, and I do think that's still a good run. I don't know. I guess maybe it was because I was like a dumb kid at the time, but I think I liked the Ultimates when I first read it. But like now, I just like, God, there's so much cringy, horrible shit in here. What
do you think?
So I think, to return to Zack Snyder for a second, I think what we can ultimately realize from Zack Snyder is, I don't think he's like a bad person. I just think he's one of those sort of bro types who just really doesn't really like understand the implications of what he's just like, ooh, let's try this interesting idea. It sounds cool or edgy or weird, but he doesn't really think it through in any way.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to follow up on it or like play it in a way that
what
ends
up happening is that a lot of his movies have like a really bad interpretation of them. So you can like say like, oh, you could have enough legitimate, you could call him this or that or the other, because that is a genuine it's like not a bad faith reading to call him all these bad
there's
things.
an argument that can be made that he is like an auteur and like trying to come up with like unique and interesting stuff, and is like very creative, I suppose.
I just think he just doesn't
But it's just
really
like-
think through the implications of what he puts out there. He's just like, this is cool.
It's
Like, I think the most
yeah,
instructive thing
he always
on
does
Zack
the first
Snyder-
half of it and then doesn't know how to handle the rest.
The most instructive case study on Zack Snyder I've ever seen was, I remember there was an interview where he said, quote, why the fuck not? You know, it's like he just sort of has these ideas, and he's just, you know, like when he was like making Batman versus Superman, he had no sense of restraint. He's like, sir, let's try this bizarre idea or that bizarre idea. Or this weird
Let's
thing
have
or
time
that.
travel. Let's have dream sequences. Let's have like this really melodramatic kind of slow-paced film. Let's have like political drama and intrigue. Let's have Batman like losing his way.
Let's
and
have
like
Flash show
all
up
of
for
those
no reason.
ideas on paper. All of those ideas on paper are like, well, that sounds kind of neat and out there and different. But then the execution is just like kind of muddled and like it's all these different ideas that like he introduces, but like you said,
Also,
doesn't
they
know
don't
how
really
to
work
handle. So
together.
they're just they get dropped in and are either ignored or just there.
And I think the biggest example
You know?
of this is Batman and Superman in that movie, where it's like there's supposed to be this big ideological split between them, but they seem basically the same to me.
Well, yeah, because like Superman is like tortured and like losing his way and becoming jaded because he feels like the world doesn't need him, and you know he's like starting to become distrustful and depressed. And then Batman is tortured and jaded and feels like Gotham City doesn't need him, or like, you know, he's like both of them slip up and kill someone and are just like, okay, I
They're
guess I'm
both
just like
needlessly
doing that
violent.
now, or needlessly violent, and like they're not these big opposites of each other like he intended, because they end up kind of feeling like they're both going through the same shit. I don't know, and maybe that's the goal, is like that they realize, hey, we're not so different after all. But then like they don't really have that kind of like conclusion of their arc where they both fucking
Realize
like
that.
learn and move on, where they don't they don't realize that, because they don't really interact after the Martha scene. They just fight something and then Superman dies. You know, we don't get to see them like come together and like really become friends or like realize their similarities. It's just Batman has that like kind of PTSD trigger moment, and then immediately it just goes into like a 45-minute string of action sequences, and that's the whole third act, and then Superman's dead, and there's like nothing in there between them for them to interact. So
It feels almost like there's no follow through,
Ye-
and it just jumps to the next scene.
yeah, there's no follow through of Batman being like, okay, I'm gonna be better now because like you're going through the same shit I am. There's no follow through of Superman being like, okay, I'm gonna be better now because, you know, I don't want to turn out like this guy who's me but even worse, sort of. And then like Batman's Amar Pinder in the comment says, man, Bruce is sad at Clark's death when they weren't even really friends. You know, even though he was totally prepared to stab him in the face like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he had spent years planning and training and coming up with the perfect way to murder the fuck out of this guy. And then, like, and had killed dozens of people along the way. Like, massacred people, blown them to pieces and cut them in half with his car. And then the next day he's like, damn, that sucks.
Do that anymore.
I feel like I can't do. Like, it's like you introduce all these kind of cool things about what they're going through at the time, but then the arc doesn't have any kind of finale or conclusion. The movie just gets kind of bogged down in like action scenes and fighting. You know, I'll say, Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, even from what I've heard of Justice League, all have cool ideas, but they don't
Snyder cut?
They don't follow through. Yeah, the Snyder cut. The fucking Joss Whedon cut is abysmal. It's unwatchable.
So wait, where did you hear that? It hasn't even come out yet.
Well, just everything that I've seen of it so far. Like, you know, they're talking about doing this post-apocalypse thing with, like, what if Darkseid, like, took over the Earth? Or, like, you know, they're going to start actually following up on the time travel stuff from the second movie. You got to get at an angle on the thing, David, so you can, like, push it. You're pushing it from the front.
I don't care. It was working. It was just working very slowly.
You gotta use physics, man.
Fuck physics. What did physics ever do to me?
Physics! It's spelled P-H-Y-S and then a big letter X that's made of, like, fire. Physics!
Thank you, NVIDIA. You really helped us with our grammar. And our spelling.
Yes, she did.
Were you making a joke about that? Were you aware that that's what NVIDIA calls their physics engine? PhysX?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
I was gonna ask earlier, what do you think of Black Cat and the evil that men do? What do you think of that whole story? Because we were talking about, like, fucking, what's the writer's name? Greg Miller, was it?
Mark Millar.
Mark Miller.
Mark Miller, there we go. And we were talking about,
Did he write
like...
that?
He didn't write that. But we were talking about, like, being responsible in the way you write those stories. So I'm just curious as to what you think of that story. Because that kind of has similar themes.
I honestly have not read that one. I know that happens in it, and I feel like that was one of the things that made me kind of avoid it.
Right.
You know? When I was younger, I could be, like, kind of edgy and sort of make jokes about that sort of stuff, too, because that was kind of a coping mechanism for me. But these days, I just, like, I kind of got into this sort of funk where, like, just that sort of content was really hard for me to digest, and I couldn't even really laugh at it anymore, because that was when, like, the troubles started to really sink in, and I started, like, acknowledging them and kind of, like, coming back to that, you know? So that was one of the stories that was on kind of like my, like, just, I'll probably not read that list for a long time. And I feel like I'm starting to get to a point, mental health-wise, where I'm able to kind of start digesting that and parsing through that and sort of separating my own experience to be able to kind of empathize with the character, but also, like, not let it, you know, trigger any memories for me. Yeah. I'm like getting better about it, so I feel like I'm gonna try to read that soon. So we'll see. Because I do like Terry and Rachel Dodson's art. They do, like, really great work together, and, like, the art on that book looks really good. So that's definitely one of the draws of it. And I know that I think they introduced, like, a second Mysterio in that comic, and I know that he does come into play in some of the mainline books. So I guess I could check that out and see how that works out.
Maybe. Yeah.
Shay Smithers says, "You're mellowing out as you get older, Xavier." Yeah, I definitely feel that. Like, I look back at, like, I don't know, jokes or, like, things I've said in videos, like, 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm like, God, well, that's the difference between me and Mark Miller. Because Mark Miller is like a 50-year-old man. I'm 22, and I'm starting to get old enough to know that I should be growing out of this shit now, and I should know better.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. You know, I'm like kind of getting, like, down on Garth Ennis lately. Like, I used to love his stuff, and I still think that his Punisher comic is, like, one of the best comics I've ever read, because it's just so, it just really captures, like, just depression and, like, kind of, like, mania and, like, kind of losing yourself really well.
And that I guess that's why I didn't like that comic.
You also read like 5% of it.
I know, but it was just so mean-spirited and just grim.
I feel like that was kind of... You know what? That's something else, is that, like, I feel like at the time of my life that I read it, like, something really grim and mean-spirited and angry felt, like, kind of cathartic. Because it's a story about an angry person just getting back at the world, you know? And,
What book was that? Sorry?
you're not...
Punisher
Max.
Max.
Oh, right.
And so, like, I definitely enjoyed it. I feel like I kind of empathized, because, like, it does a lot of weird stuff with, like, humanizing Frank Castle and, like, trying to make you aware that he's a bad person. Garth Ennis is very upfront with that. Garth Ennis's Punisher is a bad guy. You're not supposed to think he's doing a good job, you know? If you're thinking, like, oh yeah, this guy's got it all figured out, you're a crazy
my problem
person.
is
and
that my problem with that story
he puts
is
that out there.
My problem with that story is that I didn't like him, and there's also nobody else in the story that I could empathize with. And
there's a couple of side characters along the way.
I couldn't find anybody. Personally.
I feel like you almost got to kind of look at it from the perspective of, like, a mafia movie, where it's like everyone is like a criminal and like a bad guy,
yeah,
but you're still watching
in,
like their
in
fight,
Godfather
you know?
too. Like even in like stuff like Godfather, there's still like good people in that, and I just couldn't find anybody that I felt was even slightly redeemable in that movie, in that comic. I mean, and I was just. Maybe that's just in the stuff that I didn't read, but it was just so bitter,
yeah, it is,
and mean-spirited, and just joyless.
I don't know. You know what? Honestly, maybe if I had read that comic today, I would feel differently about it. And I think, well, I mean, like, if I had read it for the first time, like, it kind of has a soft spot for me now. But, like, the reason I think that I would not interpret it the same way now is because I read Garth Ennis's comic, The Boys. And that got such a different reaction out of me, which was, like, disgust and, like, almost rage. The Boys is an interesting premise. The show is so different. Like, the show is watchable because it kind of just throws out all of the ugly parts of the comic.
So what you're saying,
like,
it seems like that seems
the comic
to be a common
is
thread.
Almost just, like, using his characters as a mouthpiece to just kind of, like, shout his opinions about comic books and politics and capitalism and gender norms and, like, societal changes and everything. Like, God, it's just... There's so many long conversations where two characters are just agreeing back and forth about how Garth Ennis' opinion is perfect on, like, subjects. Like, the most recent arc that like, just came out about, like, the main character Huey, like, after the main series ended. There's a long conversation between the main character Huey and a trans woman where they're almost just kind of making fun of, like, people who care about trans issues, and then also, like, making jokes about, you know, how oversensitive everyone on the internet is, and how, you know, everything's just fucked right now, and the earth sucks, and people are stupid. Like, just saying Garth Ennis' opinions, just for, like, 12 pages, and it's like... Just write an essay at that point, dude. Like, you don't need to have your characters be a mouthpiece. It's like, it's so, like, blatant and like, careless. You know, I feel like he would be a better writer than that. But then just also, I feel like his opinions on superheroes are like, they're kind of close to hitting the mark, but then they fall onto these really dumb, like, sort of trappings that completely undermine the argument. Like, yes, you can argue that superheroes are kind of like a weird fascist idea, is that, oh, a group of exceptional people who are better than everyone else keep law and order and, like, keep the riffraff down. Like, yeah, okay, that's built in. We can talk about that. But instead, he just kind of turns it to, like, all people are inherently evil garbage except maybe, like, 3 of them in this whole universe. And if anyone ever got superpowers, they would only use it for personal gain, There's no such thing as a good person using superpowers because power corrupts. And so, if anyone got superpowers under any circumstances, all they would do is rape and kill people and be a sexual deviant. And that's it. Nothing else. And it's like, well, one, in order for this whole universe to work, there has to be no supervillains at all, ever. And that's, like, hard to believe in itself, because you mean to tell me that, you know, this company gives X number of people in the population this gene to become superheroes and manages to sign every single one of them onto a contract to keep them, like, in line, you know, doing, like, corporate politics superhero stuff and, like, being, like, mascots. None of them rob a bank or just go on a killing spree or anything like that in the entire thing, you know, like right out in the open, and the other superheroes have to, like, stop them. Never happens a single time. Doesn't even talk about it. Because I think, yeah, if you gave a random sampling of people in the population superpowers, a decent amount of them would be assholes with it. Like, think about comic books. How many supervillains does Spider-Man have?
Yeah.
50? 60?
Oh,
so for every one Spider-Man, there's 60 people who are using it to rob banks, murder, steal, rape, and try to, like, gain political power. So, like, don't comic books themselves kind of acknowledge that, like, you know, good people are sort of like diamonds in the rough, you know, sort of? Like, it's the whole great power, great responsibility theme is right there. But no, you got to ignore that because you want more scenes of superheroes being, like, I don't know, like,
shitty.
There's an just being shitty. There's, like, he has a character who is very clearly Shazam, but they don't say he's Shazam because legal reasons. But they're like, they kidnap this kid and cut off his tongue with pliers so he can't say Shazam anymore because he keeps growing into a superhero and raping people. And it's like, why? Ugh. It's just so, it's so try-hard and boring and, like, fucking long and nothing happens. And it's so bitter and mean and, like, it doesn't make any sense even in order to make its point. It's trying so hard to make this point that, like, it is also undermining actively at every turn by not actually acknowledging a lot of the counter arguments. So, yeah, in that regard, it is probably one of the worst comic books I've ever read. I would recommend you never touch The Boys with a 10-foot pole. That is 60 issues of garbage.
I like this Vortigant. He's a good guy.
This Vortigant, that's Tony Todd?
Yeah, I only like it because it's Tony Todd.
He's the Candyman.
No, he's the guy from... He's Thor's brother on Star Trek.
It's Vortigant, not Vortigaunt.
Vortigant?
Okay, I know. Listen, I know that these famous people are famous for, like, actual important shit, but
they're on Star Trek.
I care about Star Trek because he played Star Trek. He played Worf's brother Kern on Star Trek and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And really, if you think about it, that's a lot more important than whatever other film roles he's had. He also played a Hirogen on Star Trek Voyager. He also played adult Jake Sisko on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Ooh, and he was a character in Babylon 5, A Call to Arms.
Hey, William.
Hey.
So, do you think it's time for my my WandaVision rant yet?
Hold on. What do you want to do?
Well, I'm trying to send you some on Discord, but Discord decided to freeze. Okay, here we go. It's actually related to the topic.
Oh, God.
I know David has seen this, too.
I've seen what?
God, Oh, yeah. No, you sent that to me. That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, I sent that to
amazing.
you.
I
Just
love that
Lost,
show.
but with
I sent
they
that
took
to
a scene
you.
from WandaVision, and it's
That's what
did you send it to me?
Yeah, I sent it to you. I was the one who sent it
Didn't?
into the Discord server.
Oh no, I found it on Twitter, but I also
Yeah, I
saw that you
retweeted
saw
it
it
on
in
Twitter.
or you sent in Discord.
I
Oh,
retweeted
okay,
it
that
on
was you.
Twitter.
I
That's
was
how
like
you
half
found it.
asleep.
That's
I was
so
half
fun.
asleep. I'm sorry.
There's no way that
Anyway.
wasn't. God damn.
I think I'm enjoying WandaVision so much because I had such hilariously low expectations for
That's
it.
true.
Because streaming service
MCU.
superhero TV shows have disappointed me so much thus far. You know, with the exception of Daredevil.
I do
The Boys,
agree
what
with
about
you, but here's my criticism of the entirety of episode 8, which is I feel that this show really just doesn't trust its audience.
Oh yeah, no, it's just
And
got to explain
it's-
everything.
it's the-
Everything. Nothing can be left a mystery.
It's the MCU
You can't let them
sort
fill
of
in the blanks on
school
their own at
of
all.
storytelling because it's very. I mean, they have this creative premise, and it's like, okay, like you have this moment in episode whatever where Wanda comes out of the field, and you're like, okay, I get it. She's creating her world to escape from reality. I get it, And she's using the sitcoms because, like, sitcom represents that sort of world. I get it. You don't need to have that moment in the flashback where she's like, look, the
Hold
image...
on. One sec. Are we happy with spoilers? We want to
I'm
talk about
happy with
spoilers.
spoilers.
I don't know. Because, like, I'm guessing some people haven't seen it in chat, and I don't know if you want to ruin it for them just yet. So,
Okay,
what's the verdict on that?
spoiler warning.
I feel
from
like I
now-
could talk about it without spoiling it.
Okay, so we can put it this way. There are some very haunting images from episode 8 that could have been better if they had allowed them to breathe. There's a lot of awkward dialogue in the story that spells out what we can see on screen for us.
Honestly, if they could have played it more subtle, like, okay, let's say without getting too spoilery, they kind of introduced the reason why Wanda chose sitcoms as like the venue for her therapy or her like sort of
her
big
fantasy
grief bubble, and in explaining that, they really fucking hammer it through the dialogue. Like, this is why. Oh, this is the reason. Oh, that's why. Oh, that makes sense. Like, oh, so this is the reason that, like, they just say it so bluntly, like 4 times in the scene that this is why that happened, and it's like,
and they tell
you
us
could have
the
done
same
that whole
information like 3 or 4 times over in the same episode.
You have to give it to them.
You could have
though.
absolutely just yeah, they know their audience. They know their audience is the 14-year-olds who keep going, but tell me there's better cinematography than
But
this.
that wasn't
And then
explained.
it's
This is a bad movie or show because this is one aspect that is kind of redundant to the whole thing. It wasn't fully explained in depth. So they're like,
oh
fuck
yeah,
it.
no, they didn't.
Humanity was a
Yeah,
It's kind of
they know that
CinemaSins
it's
proof
those
as a
people,
show
so-
in the worst way possible. Because they don't leave anything to interpretation or imagination or like.
I acted in the
There's
face
no
of
questions.
objections that she was a mere child and of no
Yeah, no,
practical
and
use
like you
to
could have done
anyone.
all of that stuff and just had that in the
I have
background.
learned
Like
You
to
could have had
ignore
that
such
scene play out totally
niceties
normally,
when
but the sitcom thing was
Calling
just like
them
a visual thing that was going on and was
Yeah.
never directly addressed in the dialogue.
that's a big
You
problem.
know, you could have done. In fact, you could have done that throughout every scene in the episode. Is just have them kind of running on like various TVs, at different stages, and not directly call attention to it. Except maybe the scene with Vision. That one's like that. That's part of his character development. They're talking about him like
from you
kind of trying to learn how to understand human behavior.
owed
You
for
know,
your
so like
own
leave it there. But like
And my
the
further
other
hot
two
take is
that
that
they
the entire
decided to
Dr. Freeman.
So my further
The other
hot
two
take,
scenes that they explained it in were unnecessary.
oh, absolutely. So my further hot take is that the entire episode is unnecessary. Because, like, even if it's decently executed stuff, I'm not saying that it's bad. It's well acted. It's well directed. It's just there's absolutely nothing.
Set design, well shot, like everything about it is like really great except just the writing.
There's absolutely nothing in episode 8 that needed to be in the story.
Foreseen consequences.
It's in like
Yeah.
you could cut out the entirety of episode 8.
I don't know. I don't know if I
would
necessarily agree with that. Actually, I feel like this episode was like kind of the best. It's sort of getting into Wanda's head as a character and like exploring her grief a little bit and just like the depth of her loss. You know, it was done in a very awkward, clunky, ham-fisted way from a writing perspective, but I do think it was necessary because it sort of sets up it just, if the show existed as it was and just went straight from like episode 7 to whatever episode 9 will be,
So what
I
I'm
feel like that
saying
would
is
just
that
like
you needed to work
make
all
her
of that
feel less sympathetic of a character.
Well, and that's and that's the so I think that if you wanted to go with it that direction, you could have worked all of that into the other episodes. Like,
oh no, all of that could have been like thrown in like way more organically
in the
like
content,
kind of
in
like
the show.
split up as flash. You could have put that in like split up as like flashbacks like throughout the previous episode, kind of like leading into what was going on instead of just having like a clip show like. Because, you know, it's kind of played out as doing the whole, all right, let's go take a trip down memory lane. You know, here's this, and here's this, and here's this. And, like, kind of Ghost of Christmas Past style, just sitting there explaining what you're seeing. Like, it was done in a very clunky way. All of this stuff needed to be there. It just could have been handled better.
And also, there's my other hot take, which is, there's a problem that I've been having with the show, which is it doesn't seem like the show itself is really entirely aware of how much agency she has as a character in her own, like, because it seems like it's like alternating between she's like not fully aware of what's going on and then she is fully aware of what's going on, and it seems a little bit weird. And I think there could have
what I was getting from it is that she kind of like was just buying into everything and completely like addled and like brainwashed by herself for a lot of it, and then like the grief was coming back in the form of like people keep poking holes in the illusion, and then she's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm just being crazy. Well, shit. And, like, I kind of felt like episode 6 was her, like, finally coming to terms with everything that was going on. You know?
I
like,
don't...
episode... They were kind of... They didn't sort of tackle it, like, super strongly, but I feel like episode 6 was, like, the realization overall.
Also, I think that with
and then 7 and 8 have just been... I don't know, playing around since then.
But also with episode 8, remember the completely useless backstory of our antagonist?
Yeah, that didn't play into anything at all, and also
it was
very annoying because that's
it was very generic. It was very uninspired. It felt like a really shitty Harry Potter.
That's
ripoff.
the thing is that origin happens in the comics like way different, and the one in the comics is like a lot less generic. Because I want to talk about it, because like the comic version of that is like a little bit more interesting to me from what I saw of it, and then the TV show is like, how do we fucking like movieify this?
I gotta go down.
Okay, I can't.
I'll just say that
so Agatha Harkness in the comics.
The cinematic one, just to finish off, the one that they do, it feels like a really shitty Harry Potter ripoff.
Yeah, no, I could see that. The one in the comics
fucking
was that. So there's this witch character in it was not Salem. It was actually like it was like Connecticut or something, because that actually, I think a couple of the witch burning things happened like before that, you know, like, but the Salem witch trials were like just a really big one that got reported on. So whoever wrote that comic sure knew their history and actually like tried to play with something a little bit less like lesser known about that time period. But anyway, so less stereotypical. So the witch character was not like a traitor of this coven of witches. It was more like she was just a normal member of this town who practiced witchcraft, but she was sold out to the village by her own son, and they burned her at the stake, and she just used some kind of spell to sort of like survive. And instead of getting revenge on her son, she spent the next several centuries trying to find him again, because he also had like some weird magic shit that would keep him like young forever.
Right.
And she just spent all this time trying to find him because he was like this like warlock who was like on a dark path and was like evil. And she was actually trying to find him so she can make amends with him and forgive him for what he did and try to redeem him. And instead they're like, nah, let's just make her a bad guy. Because that character in the comics is not a villain, like, at all. Like, so, I don't...
Also, like, her motivation is really just
So
incredibly unclear.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, is, like, are you punishing these other characters for doing something that is, yes, as we can see, objectively, morally wrong? You know, like enslaving people for like some kind of weird like mental breakdown. Are you trying to like punish that character for that, or are you trying to figure out how they did it so that you can use that same power for evil?
My thought is that the
like,
version that you my headcanon that they should have done, they obviously didn't, is that there's imagine like I think especially you see this in like earlier moments in the series where some characters are starting to like realize some things, but then she sort of gets in the way. It's like, what if she's invested in keeping him in this world so that she can like just drain their powers? That's the version of the story that I had canon, and she's just like happy with them in this story, doing whatever.
But instead, she just bumps in as like.
She's like, we need to go on a we need to go on a little tour of your trauma for just for fun, just pals.
Well, yeah, because what was the goal of that? What was gained by this villain for doing this whole clip show?
She wanted to see why Wanda was like, or how she was able to generate the hex or
like,
field or whatever. She was like, we'll see what exactly you did, since you don't remember. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Yeah. And then
it was if I can get into bullshit speculation time, I think it's because Wanda doesn't know magic, but she's just a mutant, and they're like actually gonna get to you were born with powers, and just like all the Hydra shit just unlocked them, and you're actually daughter of Magneto. They
confirmed that she already had the powers, but over time they were fizzling out, and the experiments helped like revive them and make them stronger.
Like, are we getting to X-Men? Is that what this is all about? Can we please be using this as a big like entry for just like, hey, look, remember those X-Men? We're just keeping.
I mean, a certain character.
Wouldn't
was,
it be
like,
really shitty if
like,
I'm just
other
thinking,
character equivalent of him?
Wouldn't it be really?
Like,
here's my thought. That's really dumb. Wouldn't it be really hilariously shitty if this whole time they weren't building up to X-Men and they just did that? Spoilers, cameo of a certain X-Men alumnus.
Just as, like, fan service?
Just as fan service.
It'd be shitty if they brought back Magneto only to be like, he's not
I thought that would be... I have a feeling that that's just shitty enough for the MCU to do.
I feel like...
Honestly, I feel like that would, like... Okay, I feel like that would ruin the whole show.
I want fake Magneto to actually be actual Magneto for, like, the X-Men movies. And I want them to be like, well, fucking, this guy's the real deal, and there was some, like, fucking portal, interdimensional travel.
Well, because they said the word Nexus at one point, and then in the Marvel Universe, the Nexus is a portal in a swamp in Florida that just leads to all other alternate universes. It's like a naturally occurring just portal that goes to everywhere, and like in every corresponding universe, that swamp monster, the man thing, is just standing there guarding it. Why would you say the word Nexus if you're not gonna start doing some like alternate universe shit? And like you have like flat out magic, and Doctor Strange has even gone to alternate timelines. Like that's like all this stuff is set up and is like good to go. We've got the audience like capable enough to wrap their head around the concept of like just going to the other timeline and just grabbing the other, you know, characters and pulling them in, just to kind of keep the cast. So if they just don't do that, and that one particular character is just some guy, and it's just the same actor as like a fun little wink and nod, that would completely fucking destroy, like... Because that means that they were setting up a bunch of hints at a really cool, creative, crazy thing to do that would make a lot of people really happy, just so they could ultimately not go through with it. And it's like, why would you get him specific at all in the first place if you didn't know that people really wanted that?
Like, I feel like that's an MCU thing to do as well, because the whole point of that was just, let's get every single Marvel character ever into this one thing so that they can all coexist. But it turns out, it turned out differently in that they don't appear all at once, and it's like, I don't know, what am I trying to say anymore? My brain is on airplane mode. Did I mention that already? I'm fried.
I think we went a little bit longer than we intended to.
Apparently, Deadpool 3 is going to be in the MCU, and Ryan Reynolds is still Deadpool. So, like, there's two examples now. A precedence has been set that you're just keeping the cool ones.
So I'm going to say we're probably going to want to wrap it up now. We've been going for 2-ish hours now. We really got into it at the end of it, a little bit longer than we expected. We were intending to make it a little bit shorter.
We need to shake off the rust a little bit.
Yeah, we do, because somebody and somebody else were busy doing other things. And I'm not going to mention who they are.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Gotta make that bread.
Yeah, you were off learning baking, right?
Yeah.
You're off your baking class. But anyway...
I fried my hand.
Thank you all for coming. We will see you guys next Saturday, this coming Saturday, hopefully, wherein we will play perhaps some more Half-Life, or perhaps some The Witcher, Witcher 2, 3, 4, 5,
perhaps Fortnite.
I will
finish episode 2.
I will never play Fortnite, ever. And I will murder you if you ever suggest that of me again.
Play Fortnite. Yeah, we want to play Fortnite like fucking after the stream. You want to hop on a Fortnite server real quick? Get to level 100.
Sure, let's get a victory royale on this timeline.
Oh my god.
So anyway, we will see you
so
guys.
Slow to level up. That takes
later,
so fucking
friends.
long.
Goodbye.
I have to play all day.
We love Fortnite.
Bye.